Hello and welcome everyone to day 3 of EA Global Summit 2021. This is Juhi once again from the organizing team. Thanks everyone for your time and efforts in joining us for this session. This session is by Peter Lieber from Sparx Systems Central Europe, presenting about sustainability development goals in enterprise architect. Kindly be informed that we will be muting all the participants throughout the question, and if any of you are having any questions, please use the questions window to drop your questions to Peter. Peter will be answering all the questions and take forward the conversations in Microsoft Teams. The link to Microsoft Teams channel is posted in the chat window for your quick reference. If anyone is having still any difficulties in connecting to Teams, please reach us in the chat window or drop an email to registrations@eaglobalsummit.com because we may need to add your email address as guest from our end, it seems. So thank you once again for your continual support and interest in this summit. Looking forward for another effective session with Peter in this year's summit. So now the session starts.
Hello, good evening, good morning, good night to all over the world. Welcome to my speech about Sustainability Development Goals, SDGs, from SDGs from the UNCA and how to integrate them and to anchor them in your business architecture with enterprise architecture management based on enterprise architect. My name is Peter Lieber and I have a very strange setting these days. Nisam knows about it, so I'm currently sailing through the Adriatic Sea. Currently, I'm on the island Hvar, and tomorrow it will be the island Braj. But the challenge is that I'm not sure that the mobile connectivity will be good enough for an online GoToMeeting. I will try to be online, but maybe the presentation is not 100% live. But nevertheless, we want to bring you the story and what's the topic and what the general achievements of UN EU Green Deal are consisting of. Another strange setting, hey, I'm captain today. It's a 4 generations boat with my father, me, my daughter, and her upcoming child. And so it's new to you. I'm old enough to become already grandfather, and I'm really proud of it. And this is also part of this cycle story that I want to explain to you why it's important to think about sustainability development goals in the context of architecture. So after this unconventional presentation, because I hope I can attend live, but maybe not, I'm not able to present something including voice because I'm only on the sea currently, I will jump into our topics. So about me, my name is Peter Lieber. I'm the founder of Sparx Systems Central Europe, also founded Sparx Services Central Europe and Lieber Software. So it's all related to enterprise architect and modeling world overall in different domains and various aspects. I'm currently also, because of Corona, they asked me to become president of the Austrian Association of Entrepreneurs. The oldest association in Austria. I'm really proud to be that because in Austria it is a very important institution with a long history and a good relationships between research organizations, state, and of course entrepreneurs. And I'm also president of the Austrian Association of Software Industry, and there I'm heading the special interest group Enterprise Architecture Management. So I know a little bit more about our competitors because they are dealing day to day with general topics around enterprise architecture. It's not only about if you're the only tool in the market, then there is no market. So that's my philosophy, and therefore it's important to understand also the competition and why customers decide for us or why decide for others. And I think we have a strong position in this ecosystem
but you can learn always. My personal motivation, I trust in modeling in all challenges of daily business, and I also believe that innovation definitely need models, not data and data analysis. For innovation, models or what you can get into mind is a very important aspect, and of course diagrams are helpers, but even more important are the models behind. And for an innovation topic that gets more complexity, models to really help to argue for an innovation for other people, because if you want to be innovative, you have first to believe, then you have to talk about it, and then you have definitely to do it. And models are already helping in the belief phase of your innovation, so very, very early. The challenges of almost all companies, and it is not really new, is that you need digitalization, service excellence. You have a lot of pressure because of regulation of the markets. You have the challenge of renewal of the IT landscape. It's an ongoing process, it's not a one-time investment, it's an ongoing investment. You have to empower your employees. And so these are the major and most important issues for a lot of companies. Almost all of them are affected of it. And additionally, you have to develop your strategies and implement them quickly, as others could be faster than you. So it's not about being the big ones are eating the small ones, it's about the fast ones eating the slow ones. And so it's very important to keep us customers satisfied. Customers are not kings, but customers are partners. And this is a challenge for huge enterprises. And in enterprise architecture management domain, we are dealing very often with banks, insurance companies, state departments, or public organizations, but also big companies, and but starting already with 200 employees or less. But mainly it's a big topic for huge organizations where more than one person is collaborating on a day-to-day basis in very defined structures, and there are these challenges very often. What I also believe it's that if you want to succeed in this world, then it's helpful to have kind of a standard. And Germany is very proud of this Deutsche Industrienorm, meaning they have invented a norm to describe how tools have to be defined, that you have the possibility to reuse tools. So in the past, every new machine came with new tools, and it was unimpossible to maintain a machine because you also have to maintain the tools for it. And this is one of the success stories of Germany in the past, still is one of the success stories. So regulation is very important, and in the domain of industry it's very clear, but there are a lot of other domains where there are other standards, and enterprise architect can deal with a lot of them, including things like SEPA standard or telecommunications or the OMG standards or open group standards like Archimate and so on and so forth. And I'm really proud of it because I think this is a philosophy thing. Enterprise architect allows you to combine standards. So it's not a must, but it's a possibility to combine standards. So for enterprise architecture, it's maybe a good idea to use Archimate. If you want to define business processes, it's maybe a good idea to use BPMN. And you can say, okay, this business process defined as an abstract enterprise architecture artifact business process is better and detailed described in BPMN high level, and you can go down as deep as you want. We typically recommend not to forget the UML because it's a strong language, but it's not, of course, for all business people. But it's a good language for general purpose, for class description down to code generation if you really want to go that deep. And I think there are a lot of companies that are there already. And I think it's a good idea to have this vision, a very strong vision from top level to at the end, the line of code that you generate. The challenge with introducing modeling approaches is not a new story. So I was talking about tools and say if you just introduce a tool, you can use a drawing tool to create a model, or you can use a flip chart, whatever. But if you have a fool that has no clue about what he is doing, then the tool is just not changing the behavior of the person using it. So a fool with a tool is just a fool. And the second, if you have a genius and he has no tool and he's just writing flip charts and emails and so on, then he's maybe not productive because he cannot multiply his knowledge, and then it will never come into game, and therefore a genius without a tool is not productive. And so we identified mainly 4 dimensions you should know about. In the start point, an estimate, as I said, it's maybe not no knowledge, but you have to think about the languages you want to use. I mentioned before Accumate from the Open Group for the enterprise architecture is part of the story. Then BPMN for the business analysts and for the business architects. Then, of course, it could be UML for the IT architects, but also there are various possibilities like user interface, user experience design, or mind mapping, and a lot of languages that we support. I mean, in this case, modeling languages. Of course, you will have to think about the methodology behind how you want to model together. And in enterprise architect world and in the Accumate, the open group world, they really trust in TOGAF. TOGAF is not lightweight, it's maybe kind of heavyweight. So I have seen some nice approaches for lean startups like Lean Enterprise Architecture Framework from a Finnish colleague. So you can find it in the community of Sparx systems. Very nice lightweight approach with new methodologies and tools, using of course enterprise architect to place methodologies behind your modeling standards. Of course, tool is an aspect. So of course, the tooling and the tool ecosystem, and at Sparx we have, I'm very proud of it. We have this expert tool, Enterprise Architect itself, but we allow non-modelers also to be involved with WebEA or Collaborate. You will see a lot of session about it. And maybe you have all these versioning aspects where other third-party tools can be involved, the documentation aspects like EA.docx, where you have an interesting approach for Word and Excel interactive collaboration in models, or Lemon Tree for versioning. So we have a huge ecosystem. So it's not only one tool, it's a platform. So I'm really proud to be part of this Sparx platform where we have a huge ecosystem providing tools for that, what you need in your organization to implement your method, to use your language in the right way. And last but not least, of course, you will have to have trained people to understand your approach, your tool ecosystem, your methodology, and your languages, and to make it broader in your organization. So it's not about a single person in one organization will survive somehow, especially in enterprise architecture domain. We have a lot of one-person organizations for enterprise architecture in a huge ecosystem. So you are enterprise architect, you are alone, try to survive. And very often these enterprise architects are losing the game because they end up in a project or something like that. But I would recommend to think about a team, a collaboration approach, and even about don't leave the enterprise architects alone. So I think this is a very important aspect of enterprise architecture management. Don't leave the enterprise architects alone because they get lost over the time, and you don't want them to get lost. Why is the second slide. Because if you have a strategic target that you as a CEO, CIO, CTO, whatever you want to achieve with your organization, with this business and IT cooperation and collaboration approach, then you have maybe a target that is a strategic one. And then you have a defined time frame. And don't forget, this time frame means as long as your organization exists, you will need definitely enterprise architecture management, because of course you can go out of it, but your organization it's kind of let me tell it's like a travel journey. So if you are with enterprise architecture, then it will be a helper if you take him with you. If you forget it, if you do it like a project and to make a one-time evaluation how your IT is working, how your business is working, then you will lose knowledge over time. And this is currently without a plan. Some people play around. Then we have some diagrams, so Visios, PowerPoints, and Excels, and whatever, but not really a model. Even if you use enterprise architect in the wrong way, you just have a diagram, and no, it has no meaning, and this is a challenge. Otherwise, you can go this consulting approach. Yeah, we have the experts. We bring you 100 of consultants into your organization. We'll build up your organization. We make all the questionnaires, all the answers. And the challenge is that sometimes you will think, oh my God, that was expensive and a lot of people a project, and why I don't want to have them anymore. Or even they produce something and you say, oh my goodness, that I will not be able to maintain. Then you will definitely fail on your way to the strategic target because you have over-engineered almost everything. Another approach would also be to have too high complexity for your organization, and then you will not get acceptance. So maybe it's a clear iterative approach. I don't want to say agile because agile organization is maybe something slightly different, but for introducing enterprise architecture management, I really recommend an iterative approach. Just identify what is the win for your organization, what is the defined win where you have the most benefit out of it. Then leave it on that stage. Identify, is it that one, what we have identified? Is it the documentation of the business process? Is it the IT architecture? Is it integration with any CMDB or whatever you have in mind? Is it the collaboration using Collaborate with Teams or Confluence? Or is it more the versioning approach where you have a very powerful interaction with a global team? So whatever the first win is, it is very important to identify, to measure it, and then after a while identify, okay, what's the next win? And it could be, it's not only 3 steps, it's endless step, because as I said, it's a journey and you can start the journey at any time. But don't forget, if you don't be clever, if you don't get this expertise maybe from outside that helps you to be successful, then you may fail over time, and there is a nice approach that you don't fail. Don't forget 4 dimensions, the language, the method, the tool, and the experience you can get out from outside. Maybe something between method and experience is, what is the expected result? Don't think about what you have to put into the system. The question is, what do I want to get out? What are the questions? And I think if you have that in mind, what are the questions that I want to answer with enterprise architecture management, then you can succeed. For sustainability development goals, my major topic of today, there is also a standard. It was defined and officially announced in 2016. I touched it last year, 2020, so after 4 years after announcement, I touched these sustainability development goals. In the beginning, I thought, oh, just another crazy thing and so on. But it is not that crazy if you look a little bit deeper, because very often you have the challenge to identify what are the goals for my organization. And the sustainability development goals are, what are the goals of my organization in the context of, let's say, the world, in the context of sustainability, of course. So how are my goals are related to that ones. And a lot of companies I have seen, they do kind of greenwashing, just saying what they are doing cool, but in reality, it's just a nice paper for their stakeholders. And I thought this could not be the truth. But what happens after now 5 years is that European Union defined the EU Green Deal as an extension for some aspects like climate action. And additionally, finance institutions are treated to give only money for companies if they say which sustainability goals they are fulfilling and how. And it must be measurable. Otherwise, they get higher rates for their loans. They have challenges to get funding. They want stakeholders are asking for green investments. So it's already a thing that has started to change. And it's in Austria. I know it's also in Germany, but I think it's a global action. We have already the situation. If you want to perform or get some funding from the state, you have to say which sustainability development goals you are fulfilling, and if you don't do that, you don't get the funding. And therefore, it's a very important part of the game of companies, especially in Europe, to be related and be aware of that sustainability development goals. And it's not your enemy, definitely not, because sustainability is a thing that you really want for your organization, because you want to have sustainable business and you want to fulfill goals, strategies, visions, and it's a helper to have these high-level goals from the UN. To give it a little bit more structure, in Austria we are collaborating with ECOS22. It's an organization, I will explain it a little bit later, who are aware of these management systems and tools around the sustainability development goals. So high level is United Nations. Lower down, the European Union has defined it in more details what these sustainability goals mean. I will explain them a little bit later in more detail if we make this life aspect. And for the European Union, it does also mean, are you dealing with finance optimization? Do you make impact investments? You are analyzing stakeholder market and market value related to the sustainability development goals. Are your processes in game? Do you have cradle-to-cradle system? Do you have a cycle economy you're dealing with? Are you working on new development? And are you an innovation leader? What's about employer branding? What are you doing for your employees, which is a value for organization? And how do you deal with people overall? Women is in our branch a very hot topic because same payment for same services is one of the major challenges we still have all over the world. Which management systems are helping? It's about culture in your organization. There is some methodology, it's EFQM for quality management. We have an impact analysis, social economical development we are responsible for as a company. It's not only, hey, here is some funding for the kindergarten. It's more, how do you interact with young people? How do you help young women? How do you interact with your economy? And what social responsibility you are taking. So it's more than just a goal for your organization. It's beyond goals of the organization internal, it's more. What do you do? It's also a kind of a cycle. You have to prove, you have to develop, then you have to monitor, and then you have to utilize it. It's not just make a nice paper, do more out of it. Then you have an orientation system, you have a structure you can deal with. And here we go with the UN Sustainability Development Goals. So it's no poverty, it's zero hunger, good health and well-being, it's quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, it's affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, it's industry innovation and for infrastructure, it's reduced inequalities, it's sustainable cities and communities, it's responsible consumption and production, it's climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice and strong institutions, and of course partnership for the goals. So it's customer centrality and not customer as a king. So having new way of partners, and even the competitors in the markets could be your partners in some aspects because you want to have some global strategic goals together. But as always, as you know, if it comes to the question who wants the change, everybody says, and Ray said, okay, I want to have change, I want to change, but nobody wants to be the first one. And I think it's time to rethink this position. Try to be the first. I think it's, from my perspective, if you are in a collaboration with myself and we know me already, I always trust, I always give first. So it's a very important position. Give first, then take, if you take. So it's a very important approach. If you want a partnership, be open to give first, to make the first step and not wait for the others. Because if you always wait for others, nobody will move. And therefore, it's very important to have this mindset, give first. And then there are hopefully more people raising their hands to want to change. The EU Green Deal, it's just a short introduction. It's focusing a little bit on circular economic plan, it's emission trading system, it's sustainable and smart mobility strategy. So there are some hot topics in the EU Green Deal to enforce some of the sustainability goals in the European context more. From the engagement model, I'm not pretty sure if I really like this, but management definitely don't like circles because it's not a forward move. It's like a circle, you stay on the same place, and TOGAF has some similarities. But circles are having also a good effect. It could become more. The circle can raise and can grow, and that's the argument why I still prefer cycle. So a circle is not only a circle. A circle is a growing thing that's getting more and more and becoming bigger and more powerful, and it becomes kind of a machine that is growing. Because knowledge is the only resource in Earth that grows by sharing. No other resource is growing by sharing, but knowledge does. And so the engagement model is a circle of knowledge. And first step, it starts with the management level. If you have no awareness on management level, leave your company. Now, then you have to create the awareness at the company, and that is very important. You need the support, definitely need the support from management. Then you can start with business architecture, go a little bit deeper, application architecture, IT architecture. So this is very concrete. Enterprise architecture is maybe a thing that is, as I said, it's a travel, it's a journey, it's an ongoing journey, and enterprise architecture can grow on the go. So for each project you have, you can let enterprise architecture grow. So for the business architecture, you can in place some maturity ratings where say, okay, I'm here in 2016 and I want to be there in 2020, and here I have these measurements, how to analyze that, what I have achieved and what I have planned. Then of course you can collect business process, products and organizational units. And on management level, again, I want to bring in already the sustainability goals, and you see I have implemented an MDG based. It's not an MDG still now, so I'll tell you some kind of truth. Currently it's just classes, but it's already the gap elements that the goal elements that I can relate to that sustainability goals. And of course, then you have some goals for achieving gender equality. You have some outcomes in your organization, you have some course of action, things that you have set, you have to improve any capability, and for that you have a site and some resources to add. So you have a strategic target that could be related to the UN Sustainability Development Goals, and you have the business capability to achieve that. And you will need 5A. You need the awareness from the management. You need attention from the crowd, from almost everybody who is affected, and this is definitely everybody in your organization, especially not for every aspect, but for their aspects that are important for them. And I really trust in the power of architects, architecture, and architecture management. I know there is some different views in the market, but I'm a believer in architects. I would never build a house without an architect. I know it's possible to build houses without architects, but I trust in the power and the knowledge of architects, especially if it comes to experience. If you build the house for your own the first time, it's like building the house for the first time. If you trust an architect, then you have a good chance that he has more knowledge about building houses than you have. So therefore, even for your companies, I would recommend to have architects that are proven, that they have knowledge. Maybe they have been in other organizations before, have seen other organization forms and structures, and then it's worth to have architects. Because I'm not only talking about theoretic things, I tried out this year if it is really possible with young persons that are really interested in technology and they want to develop technology, if it is possible to bring modeling in their mind. So this had been 15 to 18 years old persons, first time touching modeling. And I said, okay, on the first day, you will have to model everything from the documentation, from your decision, everything. And they got it and they did it. The second thing is it technical feasible? But if it is feasible, if you can make it, does it make sense what you're doing? Is it sustainable? And this is a mindset typically technical people do not have, because they are interested what is possible, but not so often is it economically sensible, or even harder, is it sustainable in an economic point of view? And this I tried with my 6 practitioners this year. So we did some water irrigation system. So it means it was about clean water and sanitation. We were in an industry, innovation, infrastructure context, and it was climate action. And the calculation was, if I have to measure if there is rain, and this costs energy because we need some power to measure that, is it worth, and compared to the water that is reduced, the need of water that is reduced? And there was an interesting calculation. And yes, the answer in Austria, it makes definitely sense because we have a lot of raining days, to have this measurement of water, if it is sensible to float, to flower, no, to power, to to give water to the animals, to the flowers. Or not. It makes definitely sense to measure that. But this was a new way of thinking. So a technical thing was, yes, it's possible to measure the water that's raining. It is possible to measure the energy need and so on. It's also possible to calculate the cost, and of course it's possible to do it. But to combine that knowledge, this was a new approach. Small story maybe because we had only 1 month, but I think very important way of changing the way you think. And the same is with enterprise architecture. So don't try to make 100% all-in solution. Find a good enough solution for enterprise architectures. Otherwise, it's also a good chance to fail. As I'm on the sea, as you know from the beginning, we decided, no, it was not my decision, but it's from ECOS, to have sustainable enterprise architecture. So I really want to introduce now C, sustainable enterprise architecture, meaning bringing the combination of CSR, so corporate social responsibility, and IT together as sustainability enterprise architecture to have an open measure management system. So more details you can see under the link. Sorry, it's German only, but it's good enough to translate it with any translator of choice. The second is that it's not only about architecture or enterprise architecture tools and so on. It is also about a lot of aspects that you cannot fulfill alone. So it's about partnership. So C is an interdisciplinary function in the support partner area. Last but not least, a cool story. We are nominated for a very famous award, the Constantinos Award. It's in Austria, it was founded, but it's already a global award. And we are nominated in the area of human resources, ethics, and corporate social responsibility. And if we are lucky, maybe we are award-winning product soon. Hold us the thumbs. Thank you. But now let's see what I have implemented so far for performing that. So in enterprise architecture, we have implemented the reference model of ECOS 232. So I have here the sustainability development goals as enterprise architect artifacts, of course. And here we have the sample of gender equality as we have presented in the PowerPoint presentation already. And of course, we have this composite structure diagram where I can go and see, okay, what is behind this aspect of the sustainability development goal related to an Archimate model. And you know, of course, but maybe not, if you have a capability, you can define maybe a business process or business processes that are behind that capability. So again, we have the possibility to have a composite structure diagram, and I can add in this case still an Archimate perspective. So I will do Archimate here, and I will use the business layer and explaining the capabilities with simple business processes. And maybe you know in Archimate there are no decisions. You can just say, okay, there is another business object, there is business collaboration, maybe another process, and we have maybe a serving or flow to another business process, but you're not describing exactly the business process that is behind that. And therefore, we have another language. So this is Archimate. And if I want to go deeper from here, then I can jump into another language, and this is the power of Enterprise Architect, that I can say, okay, I want to describe this specific business process with BPMN as an example. So I can choose business modeling, I use BPMN. Of course, we have other languages, but for my sample, I want to use BPMN, the classical business process, and I leave out the complete truth that you now need the business process. I would just start with a start event, making a conditional start event here. Then we have maybe an activity with a sequence there, and this is maybe a receive activity. Of course, we have other things like a gateway now, where we can say, okay, this is an inclusive gateway, just following this guidance, and then we have another activity, and we have rules and lanes and whatever is needed for, and last but not least, of course, we have an end event. So I don't want to use the pool, I just wanted to use the end event with a sequence flow and say no special end event. Long story short, the idea here is that we can combine from this top-down approach from the UN SDG, we can go down to the Archimate business process and then define the BPMN business processes. Let's go back to the Sustainability Development Goals. Again, you see that they are already in Enterprise Architect, and you can jump to others like Life Below Water or Climate Action. I'm not sure where I have already started fulfilling it for a specific company. So we have here clean water and sanitation as an example, where it's already something behind. Or climate action. So we have here some climate action, especially for a stakeholder assessment related to climate action. So this is the high-level sustainability goals. If you want to go for an assessment for your organization, then we have an approach that is related to the reference model of ECOS 22. And here we have some aspects that you have to be aware of. You have to be aware of leadership, concept strategies, then you have key results, KPIs, you have to be aware of employees and partnership resources, and of course customers, processes, and social economical results. And there is a main differentiator, therefore this legend, we have enablers and we have results, and that should be measured. Sorry for some German words now, but the idea is that there is a questionnaire, and this questionnaire allows to create these measurements for these 9 disciplines that we have addressed here. So we have questions for leadership, we have questions for strategy, for employees, for partners, and so on, for customers, for social economy, from some KPIs that we have to achieve. And the good thing is these questions are providing a resume, an analysis, a result. We can get a special assignment, and last but not least, you will get a possibility, a visualization of your results. One is from your self-assessment, the other is from your assessor, and last but not least, you have this as is to be analysis that you get out from that questionnaire. And this is done with assessment, reassessment, and the results of that questionnaire that is currently implemented as an Excel, but we have it also already as an online tool, will be stored in Enterprise Architect as the results for measurements for comparisons after 3 years. Typically, there is all 3 years an assessment where you have to fill out this questionnaire together with an assessor to make this positioning for sustainability development goals and for also some other aspects. Of course, because it's Enterprise Architect, it has a nice capability to see the gaps. You can make a gap analysis on the diagram level, but you can also make a gap analysis with a version control tool, with a third-party tool. So sorry for some German presentations. This is just the results that is coming out from a questionnaire where you have some tag values with the values that you have achieved in a specific domain. The good news for us Sparxians, is that people will see enterprise architect also in the context of sustainability development goals of the EU Green Deal. And if they go to financial institution and they want to have an assessment, then the assessors will use enterprise architect also for the assessments. And I think it's a big win for our community to be also in this regulation market. Jumping back to my presentation, so we will see a lot of other stories how to build MDG technologies. So it's a small step to create an MDG for SDG. So it's clear, sustainable enterprise architecture can only be done with enterprise architect, and raise your hands, be the change. And don't forget, to attain success, you need to cross the bridge of planning. And I hope I will be here in the morning because I have recorded the session to be sure that you get the content, because I'm only in mobile business on the sea currently, thinking about the sea, meaning sustainable enterprise architecture. And I'm happy to answer your questions, hopefully in person now.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much for all the efforts and interest that you put towards it. As I said, you are one of our keynote speakers. We are happy in a way that you took all these trouble for us and for EA participants.
Yes, thank you. I was really interested to see my own speech after recording, and I have heard some bells behind, some voices, and that's all about the ship and collaboration. To get the crew quiet for 1 hour, it was really hard. You can trust me. So
So that's
I'm happy
that's
to.
all right.
So that's maybe sometimes the greater challenge to say quiet now, and they really had to try to be quiet, of course. The good things, I will be online in Teams. So if you drop a question there, I will be there for approximately a quarter. And if there are questions later rising up, I will be answering in the afternoon when I'm in the Haver again.
Okay. It's noted, and thank you so much. We will be pasting. I'll wait in this session for another 15 minutes or something like that. So to let the participants drop their questions. If there are any questions coming up, I'll definitely paste it in Sparx System Central Europe channel for you to answer whenever time permits.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining this session. So, thanks, Peter, once again.